Babylon is the latest film from Damien and Chazelle, and this film is kind of an anthology movie. It tells the story of a few different characters, which begins in 1920s Hollywood at the beginning of the talkies era, and kind of chronicles these characters throughout the next 20 years of their career, and it's just this big Hollywood epic directed by Damien Chazelle. So, Damien Chazelle, a director I personally am a big fan of. Love Whiplash, love La La Land, really like First Man. So this being his fourth directorial effort, I was really interested to see this. And I really like the concept of it, this idea of this big epic film taking place inside of 1920s Hollywood. I was there for it. And then the reviews came out and people were saying, yeah, this movie's over 3 hours long. And I thought, oh, Jesus. Movies with that long of a runtime can work, but I feel like that they have to have, a really strong story, really captivating characters to really keep you there. A recent example of this is Avatar: The Way of Water, a movie I absolutely adored. And that movie was over 3 hours long, and I loved it. I didn't even feel the runtime in that movie. Did I with Babylon? Let's find out. So I'll start off with the positives for this film, which, first of all, I think the performances are really, really strong in this. Particularly, Margot Robbie is really good. She's kind of marketed as the lead of this movie, which I don't necessarily agree with. In my opinion, this movie has 3 leads, because like I say, it's kind of an anthology film where it focuses on these 3 major characters, and each one of their stories are kind of intertwined, but kind of not. They all know each other, but only vaguely. So it is kind of this anthology movie where you've got Margot Robbie and her story, and she's really great. Margot Robbie, I think she's actually quite underrated as an actress. She's kind of known for playing these kind of wacky roles, and that is very true here. Like, her character is very over the top, but I think it works in this movie given what her character is trying to do. So I really liked her. You also have Diego Calva, who is, I would probably say, the main lead in the movie. He's really great. I really enjoyed him. I can't wait to see him in more stuff. I'm pretty sure he's going to get some more great roles after this. And then you have Brad Pitt, Brad Pitt is kind of playing like this older style actor who was always in the silent era, but he's struggling to adapt to the talkies era. And I found that aspect of his character very, very interesting. The way his character kind of sells the fact that he is perhaps losing his touch, and he's a great actor, he's very beloved, but now he's in this new era of film, this new era of Hollywood that he doesn't seem to be connecting with. Was a really interesting way to play it. So I think the 3 main leads you have in this movie are all really strong individually, but also as a group performance, just absolutely fantastic. Also, Justin Hurwitz's score is euphoric in this movie. I loved it. From the trailers, I knew the score was going to be fantastic, but just hearing it in the movie, it's just fantastic. The entire way through, non-stop, absolute bangers. The score of this movie has been stuck in my head since I watched it. Particularly that one song, Voodoo Mama, that song is just wonderful. That's the one that was used in all the trailers. That's the one everyone sort of talks about, but it's genuinely great. And that score really adds to the vibe and the atmosphere of the movie. Taking place in the 20s, it has all those big brass and trumpets. It just fits so well in this world. Also, the cinematography is really, really strong in this film. There are many beautiful looking shots. Also, this film does have this kind of grain over it to kind of add it into the 1920s theme, which again just puts you in that world even more so, makes it feel more authentic in that way. But just some of the shots you have in this film are absolutely gorgeous, and the fact this wasn't nominated for Best Cinematography at the Oscars still kind of shocks me. However, as mentioned, this film is 3 hours long. Over 3 hours long. And it did not need to be 3 hours long. This movie, I was very, very exhausted by the end. And that's mainly because this film is kind of non-stop. Like, despite the fact it's 3 hours, it has a lot that goes on in it. There is a lot of high energy, high intensity scenes, but the film is almost too much. Like, the film is 3 hours long, and it's 3 hours of just shouting in your face. And by the end of it, I was very much ready for it to end because I was just kind of checked out and exhausted. It does end on a very strong note. The final scene in particular is really, really good, but the whole runtime of it, there's just so much. Like, this movie is so much. And I do believe that was kind of intentional. Like, I think, this film was trying to show what the era was like, particularly for a certain subset of people, actors and things like that. But I don't know if the movie needed to be 3 hours long. I really don't. I think this film could have settled around the 2.5 hour mark, maybe even shorter. I think you could have knocked out at least 40, 45 minutes of this movie, and it would have been all the better for it. Like I say, some films can justify being 3 hours. I don't think this one did. And another reason for that is that this film really doesn't have a story that warrants it being 3 hours. Yes, it's an anthology movie, so it does kind of tell these multiple stories, but they are all taking place at the exact same time. But because of that, the movie doesn't feel like it's telling one continuous story. It just tells these multiple stories. It jumps around back and forth, these different characters. It makes it a little bit hard to focus at times. So I feel like because of that, this film doesn't have a strong story. It also doesn't have particularly strong characters. Like I say, it has strong performances, but not necessarily strong characters. So you're jumping around with these characters you're not particularly invested in, a story that's difficult to connect with, and then you're just along the ride for 3 hours. And that, for me, didn't quite work. So overall, for me, Babylon is a good film. It's enjoyable. There's a lot of very strong elements to it that I really enjoyed. However, I don't think I could ever see myself watching this again just because of how long it is. It's 3 hours of just a lot of Damien Chazelle. And, you know, some people are going to love that. You know, some people are claiming this film is a masterpiece. And if you enjoyed it, that's great. Like, I can totally see why so many people are enjoying this. But for me personally, that 3 hour runtime just killed this movie off. It did not need to be that long. You could have shaved at least 45 minutes off this movie and it would have been better. And like I say, despite the fact it's got a great score, great cinematography, great performances, I don't think any of that is enough to warrant the epic 3 hour runtime that this movie boasts, because it just ends up being a detriment to the movie rather than a strength. So have you guys seen Babylon? If you have, make sure to let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? And did you think the movie was too long? Make sure to let me know your own thoughts in the comment section down below. And hope to see you guys again in my next video.